everybody. It is September 22nd, 2021.
Happy Rays getting into the playoffs as we start.
Yeah, the Rays just clinched within the last minute or two their official playoff berth. They still have the division to wrap up later in the week. I'm personally going to the game Saturday, so I'm hoping that's the day they clinch the division. That would be great. I am Flying Ryan Gokers along with
Tampa Motormouth, Joel Verlin.
And we are here not to talk about the Rays, even though, I'm very happy about them.
We're not here to talk about the past.
Nope, we're here. Well, we actually are here to talk about the past. We're going to talk about week number 2. What happened? Both of us went 11-5 in picks. The two we disagreed on, we split. I had the Cowboys correct, which is why I'm wearing the blue and white. Joel had the Bears, even though that was a close. Both games were, I think, 3-point games. So pretty good week for our picks. Much better than week 1 for both of us. Yeah, both games 20-17 that we disagreed on. So
I'm sure as a Dolphins fan, you want to misremember this week.
Yeah, we'll get to it. Yeah, it was fun. At work, I had a Zoom call, and the topic of football came up, and somebody reminded somebody that I was a Dolphins fan. I went, oh, yeah, this was a fun week for me. Oh, boy.
I don't think there was much of that going from goal to goal like no one's ever seen.
No, the good news is I play hockey on Sunday, so I didn't get to see a lot of the game, and the opponent in my hockey game, I'm a goalie, scored the same number of points as the Dolphins, so yay for me. That's the way you put a spin on it.
Thank you, Gesicki and Gaskin.
Yeah.
Wow.
Gaskin's been real bad. Gesicki's been worse. So there's been some busts for sure.
Although before we get to any of that, I do have to bring up what I texted you about, because you said that your significant ended up going through a version of it where we actually had F for forklift certified in the 16-team league, because I was actually following this. He started Derrick Henry and still lost. I mean, that just you're just going, okay, wow, look at that. That's an unbelievable amount of lead. And I'm just going, huh? Because Monday Night Football came and it went, and you're just going, okay, so he probably had to win that matchup. And then you just look at the numbers, you're just like, huh?
Yeah, that's a tough loss. That really is, because, well, Derrick Henry had a decent week. And if you don't know what I mean by decent, I mean your average ho-hum. Really, who cares? Nothing special. 47.7 point game.
This was an Alvin Kamara performance from last year, definitely not this year so far.
Yeah. 47.7 in a 16-team league should be enough, but Roethlisberger let him down badly. Lamar Jackson closed some of that gap. And then, of course, Jalen Waddle in the flex outscoring Anthony Troutman. That one hurt. And then Buffalo's defense outscoring Cleveland 22-5. Does not help. You did mention my wife lost one. She lost in her family league. The one I am, family feud behind my head. 0-2 right there. She lost with Derrick Henry, but the person had Aaron Jones, had Kyler Murray. The person had an absolutely ballistic week. That wasn't her most brutal loss. The most brutal loss was the one to me by way of the Monday Night Miracle that of 51.5 points from Aaron Rodgers, from Devontae Adams, and from TJ Hawkinson combined. 51.5 when I was behind by 51.36 to start the night.
Surprised she's not coming in and screaming at you about this right now.
Yeah, she's sequestered in another room. I'm sure she'll give me a lot more headache after this one when I bring it up that she lost horrifically. Lost on the fact that Aaron Rodgers does not take his own kneel downs, which is the best part. So, 7-6 week for me. I did have this one weird one down here. Says 1-0. That is not a typo. That was a bye week.
Yeah. Aaron Jones helped me out huge, big time in one game, but. Like I said in the start of the podcast, Gesicki and Gaskin just absolutely of course you have the double T injury going forward that I know we're going into talking about, but Miami was just an utter complete, because as bad as the Saints were, and they were bad, as horrific as the Jets were, and they were bad, I really think you have to have Miami as up there as the worst team of the day, and not merely just because they put up the zero, but because of what they didn't do. Because you could definitely argue, you definitely had the Jets, and that was pretty horrible.
Yeah, we'll get to all the games here in a little bit. Like I said, I had a 7-6 fantasy week. Joel, yours was better than last week, you said, but last week was 0-5. This is a low bar. What was the record on it?
Yeah, it was. I ended up going 2-2 basically, because I
2
ended up winning.
2-3 or 2-2?
No, I ended up going. Oh no, yeah, because I ended up. Yeah,
5.
Oh, okay, yeah. So there was because I ended up winning the alternate. No, I lost in the alternate 10-team league. I ended up winning in the 2 primary Yahoo leagues. I lost in the best ball league. I'm sure of it, and I ended up losing in the Flea Flicker league. So that was actually 2-3. Helps if somebody can name Joel can actually count right, not.
So Joel's fantasy season is right now a 2-8 start, not ideal. Mine is 15-12. So not great. But
do I need to be like Urban Meyer and I need to start crafting some kind of a PR apology out there?
Maybe. I've still got 6 undefeated teams, which is, I guess, solid. And the one at the top of the board, that one I think is going to stay that way for a while because that team is just mauling people right now.
Are you buying or selling Urban Meyer as a head coach so far?
Oh, I never bought into that. He's a college coach. He's not going to be good in the pros. He's just not. All right, so let's start with quickly just mentioning the Thursday night game from last week. Giants 29, Washington Turds 30. McLaurin, a big game. Antonio Gibson, not so much. I think he's going to be a great buy low candidate.
McKissick, hack, SpongeBob, hashtag SpongeBob.
Hashtag SpongeBob-ing. Washington plays Buffalo this week. Antonio Gibson's probably not going to be great again this week. If he's bad, go buy him. The schedule gets better. Go buy him. He has 3 very tough weeks to start the season, and then all of a sudden it gets a little bit easier. So I'm working on buying him in a place I don't have him yet.
And then, of course, you have to go talk about prime time and Ravens beating the Chiefs. It happened in September. Lamar got past Mahomes.
Yes, jumping straight to the end of Sunday, which I guess we'll do today. Ravens 36, Chiefs 35.
That was a headline. You have to bring that up. That's just one of those that pops right out of the gate.
All right. Well,
much like
Ravens 36, Chiefs 35. Costly fumble by Clyde Edwards-Helaire, who is the player I'm trying to sell to get Antonio Gibson. Not the best time to do that either. Lamar Jackson looked pretty good after the first couple of drives. Pat Mahomes was Pat Mahomes' first career interception in September, first loss in September, and the Ravens finally showed they can actually beat the Chiefs. They did do it at home. They did it on some fluky plays, but they still got the win. All right, so now we'll go back to the start of the day on Sunday. Go back to chronological order. Patriots 25, Jets 6. Not a surprise here. Patriots are the better team. Jets are looking terrible. Zach Wilson, 4 interceptions on the game. The Patriots, after a loss to Miami, came back nicely, beat a team they should beat. Damian Harris found the end zone, and just all around a good performance from the Patriots.
Yeah, because you had Mac Jones, of course, was good again, other than if you started Nelson Aguilar, you probably hated when you see that, not seeing him open for the long score on the trick play, and hoping he opens it up more as this game script tends to dictate. But that's still better than Zach Wilson throwing 4 picks. Of course, he didn't really ever have a chance in this one, and I doubt he's going to have much of a chance in Denver either.
Speaking of Denver, the Broncos go to Jacksonville. They win their game 23-13. The Jaguars look terrible. The Broncos, without Jerry G, look pretty good. A huge game from Cortland Sutton. Massive fantasy game. If you had him, you probably had a pretty good week. He was on one of my teams that just dominated. I don't know what to make it with the Jaguars. One week it's Chark. The next week it's Marvin Jones. So far, nothing really special out of James Robinson. The Broncos look like a pass-happy team, even though Gordon and Javonte Williams are good running backs. So Broncos 2-0, and they get the Jets next week. Very good chance of going 3-0. Jaguars 0-2, and it doesn't get any easier from there.
When it comes to the Jaguars, all you need to know is when you have the tight end is one of the few bright spots in the offense, and now he's out with a high ankle sprain. What does that mean to tell you about why Urban Meyer is getting that PR and getting those apologies out there? And it's only week 2, folks.
Yeah, not a good look. Already some mutinies going on there, I think. Next up, Bills 35, Dolphins 0, and that's about all the analysts I have on this one. Joel, go ahead.
Oh, there's.
Oh, wait, hold on. I got one more point to say. Bills good, Dolphins.
A little bit more breakdown about that, because I mean, granted, I can understand and I know how that would feel if that were the Bucks fan. I can go back to a certain game. The Saints did something similar to that to the Bucks prime time. So trust me, I know how these games feel. But a little bit more breakdown other than Dolphins suck, Bills good. Yeah, you had Josh Allen was off as an intermediate passer against Miami. And yeah, one has to wonder if you're starting in fantasy, is he going to hit his 2020 levels? Although some of that, of course, is when you have Zach Moss getting those 2 rushing scores, and that definitely takes away from some of the passing offense. And of course, Devin Singletary had that long touchdown run. But the main story going forward with Brissett with the double T injury, how much does this downgrade Miami offensive players in fantasy? We're already starting to see that happen.
It's going to depend on how long he's out. He's already been ruled out for week 3 against Las Vegas. It's going to be a bad week for Miami. This is going to be a bad week for Miami against the Raiders. The Raiders look very good. We'll get to how they did in a little bit. But yeah, Tua down with bruised ribs, then came out fractured ribs. I think it's a pain tolerance thing, but Drew Brees was out 3 or 4 weeks with bruised and fractured ribs last season. I expect something similar. Jacoby Brissett is not good, and this is pretty much going to derail the Dolphins' playoff chances unless they get real hot when Tua comes back, which doesn't seem particularly likely. Next, we go to one of the, it was a competitive game, just wasn't entertaining. 49ers 17, Eagles 11. The 49ers have made the Super Bowl each of the last 2 seasons. They started 2-0. They are starting 2-0. I don't know if that actually means a whole lot of anything. Everybody in the San Francisco backfield was injured in this one to some extent. Trey Sermon with a concussion. Limited practice today. Elijah Mitchell with a shoulder was held out for today. Who else was it? It was Jermichael Hasty. He's on IR now for a short period of time. I believe a high ankle sprain. So everybody gets hurt for the 49ers part D. Last year was the defense. This year it's the offense. The Eagles looked kind of more like what we expected out of the Eagles before they played Atlanta. I think a lot of the Eagles fans got all hyped and happy, and then they played a real team. And 17-11, not the worst beat down for the Eagles, but the Niners came into Philadelphia and took care of business.
And then, of course, you had Jimmy Garoppolo was good enough to help keep the Trey Lance talk at bay for at least another week. But 49ers offense just was not dangerous against the Eagles. And we'll get to see the Eagles, the defense in depth Monday night versus the Cowboys to see if they're a unit in fantasy, if we buy them or let's stay far away from them as we possibly can.
Yeah. Next up, LA Rams 27, Indianapolis Colts 24. A surprisingly good game. Rams 2-0 for the 4th straight season. Matt Stafford and Cooper Kupp definitely have a thing going outside of breakfast. It just looks real nice for the Rams right now. They host Tampa Bay next week, so they will definitely get a test. The Colts, Carson Wentz, double ankle sprain on the same play. Fortunate
one is bad enough.
Yeah, fortunate not to be anything more severe. A quarterback who is not super mobile might be able to play on a rolled ankle or two. Only time will tell. He did not practice today. If it's not him, it's going to be a rough week for Indianapolis next week, as they are playing Tennessee, who looked a lot better this week than they did the week prior.
Yeah, and after you have once sprained both of his ankles, you have Easton promptly come in like, yeah, let's just throw the whole game away. And it is not looking good going forward for the Colts as you just try to figure out that whole crazy situation. Just wow.
Yeah, the Colts have a real rough start to the season. Rams, Titans, they played Seattle last week. It might be a rough start, but I think they'll turn it around here in a little bit.
Just when you thought it was bad enough with Wentz, Easton is going to make Wentz seem like he's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah. Next up, we go to the Las Vegas Raiders with possibly the upset of the week. 26-17 winners in Pittsburgh. The Steelers did not look great. Najee Harris much better than week one, at least fantasy-wise. The Raiders, though, their defense looked pretty good. Derek Carr over 400 yards, 350 and 2 touchdowns in 3 straight games, which is the longest in Las Vegas history, which I think would include Oakland history, but you never know. 2-0 Raiders. They will host the battered and bruised Miami Dolphins next week, and they have a very good shot at going 3-0. Again, no Tua next week. It will be Jacoby Brissett, which instills fear in the heart of no one.
And talking about a quarterback who is not has as much fear as he once did, Roethlisberger is going to not support the value of the top 3 Steelers wide receivers week in, week out. As you have Deontay Johnson now, of course, has a knee injury that's going to keep him out of week 3. And what is that going to do as far as Juju Smith-Schuster, who had a bit of a resurgence, of course, last week, and Chase Claypool, who becomes more of a favorite target if indeed Deontay Johnson isn't out. It's just going to be rough time of it for the Steelers as all of a sudden you had a once fearsome team that now just seems to be a shadow of its former self.
Yeah. All right. So we've already mentioned Tua. We've mentioned Wentz. We get to our third quarterback injured this week. That would be one Andy Dalton for the Bears. The Bears do still beat the Bengals 20-17 this week in a low-scoring game that was competitive. Joe Burrow threw 3 consecutive picks on 3 consecutive passes at one point. Fields comes in relief of Dalton. They do win the game, but it wasn't convincing. That defense looked better this week, but the offense still looked bad. Justin Fields will be starting in week number 3. Whether this is the beginning of the Justin Fields era or not is still to be determined, as they said, hey, Fields is a starter until Dalton is healthy.
And you also had the Bears defense, who wilted against the Rams in week 1, actually looked like a defense against the Bengals. But the question is, how are they going to hold up to that offensive machine they have coming up against them with the Browns in week 3, whether or not Odell plays or not?
Sounds like he will, but we'll have to see. Next up, 2 quarterbacks that got hurt. One did come back, though. Houston losing 21-31 to Cleveland. Tyrod Taylor out multiple weeks with a hamstring injury. And it's now rookie quarterback coming in his place, this time Davis Mills. If you remember last year, the punctured lung via needle. That gave us the trash can Justin Herbert error. Either one, they both work. Error in the Chargers organization. Browns did have Mayfield go out on a tackle on the pick and came back into the game a little bit later. But the Browns win 31-21. All around, just a decent day for most everybody. Nick Chubb had a good game. Kareem Hunt, not so much, but Demetric Felton, a running back, got a touchdown. The fullback got a touchdown. And the Browns take care of business without too much of a threat.
And you definitely have to give a hat nod to Baker Mayfield. Even after getting dinged and defending the interception return, he's playing without his 2 top receivers after Jarvis Landry went out. And we'll have to see how that affects him going forward.
Yeah, Odell is expected to be back this week with Jarvis going on the IR. Next up, well, that whole Jameis Winston's a top quarterback thing really worked out, didn't it?
Not.
Saints losing 26-7 over the Panthers. I feel a lot better about my Panthers are a surprise team this year, pick from the preseason. Sam Darnold, first ever 2-0 start of his career, so good on him. Alvin Kamara, it was let's just say suboptimal.
Hallelujah, holy bleep! Where's the Tylenols for if you start at AK this week? Good boy.
Yeah, AK did not get 47 total yards. 8 carries for 5 yards. 8 carries for 5 yards. Joel,
It's like that. It's like that
that's
meme that the
under
guy
1
is
yard a
going
carry.
like, sort of like the meme guy is going like this.
Yeah, 8 carries for 5 yards. Chipped in 4 catches for 25. PPR at least kind of salvaged today. Not really. If you're non-PPR, that is a 3-point outing, my friends. And that is what you call horrible from a 10th round pick, let alone someone who went number 3 overall. Jameis, 11 of 22 passing for only 111 yards.
Okay,
2 consecutive weeks with under 15 completions and under 150 passing yards, which is not a good sign.
Let's not panic sell or bench Alvin Kamara at this point, because I know this is the point where you tend to do that and you can overreact. But I don't think it's going to get any better as he goes into Bill Belichick land.
No, it's going to be a bad week. It's going to be a bad week for the Saints. It's going to be a bad week for Miami. It's going to be a bad week for the Saints. If you have Jameis Winston, now might be a good time to go to your waivers and pick up your best available option. For me, that was Daniel Jones. No more Jameis. He cost me a week, so he going. Sam Darnold, 26-38, 305, and 2 touchdowns with 1 interception. McCaffrey did what McCaffrey does: 24 carries for 72 yards and a touchdown, with 5 more catches for 65 yards. DJ Moore, though, looked good. Robbie Anderson had some opportunities. It was just an all-around fairly solid game. 6 receivers for 3 or more receptions for the Panthers as they just take care of business against the Saints. Next up, I think this was the game of the day. I said it was going to be a high-scoring affair, and it was. Arizona 34, Minnesota 33. And it came down to a last-second 37-yard field goal by the Vikings that was missed. Oh, boy. You don't want to lose on that, but Arizona escapes the home upset by the Vikings. The Vikings fall to 0-2 with most of the rest of their division not winning, not being 2-0 at least. Packers 1-1, Bears 1-1, Lions and Vikings 0-2. Tough day. Good day for fantasy. Adam Thielen was good. KJ, not KJ. Justin Jefferson had a solid game. Rondale Moore, great game for the Cardinals. AJ Green with a touchdown. Everybody but the running backs for the Cardinals really had a solid day.
Hey, it's not 2021. It's really 2011.
And it was KJ. It was KJ Osborne. I just got KJ Hamler in my head, and I knew that was wrong.
There's a little bit of a concern of a Dalvin Cook injury going forward, so you might want to monitor that and prepare yourself with another option this week. As it's already happening early, kids.
Yeah, he's not as bad off as you think. Chase Edmonds, 8 carries for 46 yards, over almost 6 yards per carry. Only give it to him 8 times, so you can make sure you hand the ball to James Conner, 8 carries for 26 yards. You don't want to overtax your best running back. I don't understand that theory. Running back for the Vikings, Dalvin Cook, 22 carries, 131 yards, and an average of 6 yards per carry. But as you notice, they gave their 6 yard per carry running back lots of touches. KJ Osborne, Justin Jefferson, and Adam Thielen, all with a touchdown, all fantasy viable. If they're available, go get them. They're going to be very, very good for you. But again, the last second missed field goal sinks the Vikings, and we move on. Tom Brady's good.
Yeah.
Tampa Bay 48, Falcons 25.
I've heard that.
Yeah. 4 straight games with 4 or more passing touchdowns for Tom Brady. This goes back to I believe, the regular season, because I don't think he had 4 in the Super Bowl. The game was close. It was 28-25, and then all of a sudden the Buccaneers defense decided, okay, we're going to stop you. 2 pick sixes in the fourth quarter combined with a Godwin touchdown in the middle. Almost sunk me to my wife. She had Godwin in the Bucs defense, but not quite. Not quite. 0.14. My closest win of the year so far.
And
Falcons
interesting,
looked pretty good until they blew it.
yeah, because Tampa's defense, and you sort of got the idea that they might be generous, but guess what? Also scored 2 touchdowns. So I mean, granted, it's against the Falcons, but
Yeah.
still.
The Falcons make teams look better than they are. We will see the Bucs really be tested again, I believe, this week coming up in LA against the Rams. But the 48-25 win, that is the 9th straight game the Bucs have won with 30 or more points scored, which is an NFL record. Maybe they get there against the Rams, but I think it'll be close.
Rough defense if you had to start Matt Ryan just because you waited long enough, or if you were rolling with Kyle Pitts. This is just the Bucs defense. So just if you started them, if you're not happy, just hang in there. It's Bucs do that to everybody.
Yeah. Next up, Tennessee 33, Seattle 30. Derrick Henry, also very good. 41 touches, 237 yards, and 3 touchdowns. And Seattle could not stop him in the second half if they had to.
Yeah, just Derrick Henry. All you need to do is you look at all those fantasy teams that either they started him or they had to go up against him, and it was just sort of, you call that like the Derrick Henry epicenter.
Yeah. Yeah, he was an absolute monster again. 47.4 in PPR leagues. He was pretty close to that in standard leagues as well. He is getting some passing volume, which is interesting for fantasy because he doesn't normally do that. Tyler Lockett, another big game for Seattle. Russell Wilson, a big game as well.
And of course, you sort of had people maybe a little bit concerned about Julio Jones, but just realize he's getting used to a whole new offense.
Yeah, had the heels on the line, or else he gets a touchdown. People are concerned about Ryan Tannehill, and frankly, if Derrick Henry's going to do what he did this week, the passing offense is going to die unless they're getting blown out. So it's going to be tough if you have the passing options or the receiving options for the Titans. But a good win against Seattle. They can go to 2-1 against Indianapolis next week, which would be a pretty big win because Indianapolis would fall to 0-3.
And one more thing. Are you concerned at all about those A.J. Brown drops?
I think you have to be a little bit. He's had some drop problems, but to drop as many as he has is definitely a concern. Then we go to Dallas beating the trash can and the LA Chargers 20-17 on a 56-yard field goal by Greg Zuerlein as time expired. Justin Herbert has not looked good through 2 games in my estimation. People go, oh, he looks great. He's got a lot of yards. It's like, yeah, but he's got no touchdowns and he's throwing interceptions. So
that may look great on the field, but that doesn't translate in fantasy.
Yeah, 31 for 41, 338 yards, a touchdown, and 2 interceptions. Only 4 carries for 12 yards for Herbert as well. Eckler much more involved in the passing game this week, 9 catches for 61 yards to go with 54 yards
the
rushing.
Austin Eckler panic can die down now for at least 1 week.
Yeah, Mike Williams had a touchdown. Keenan Allen over 100 yards receiving, a lot of good options there. The Cowboys, Dak Prescott, possibly his worst game of his career for fantasy, 23-27, 237 into an interception. I think the star of the game, though, was one Tony Pollard. 13 carries, 109 yards, and a touchdown. That went with 3 catches for 31 yards. Zeke.
How the ADP with Pollard and Elliott have all of a sudden just shifted.
Yeah, Zeke, 16 for 71 and a touchdown. Not terrible. 2 more catches for 26 yards. So other than the extra 30, 40 yards, not a huge difference between the two, which is concerning because, again, Zeke went 3, 4, 5, 6 overall. Tony Pollard, he's on waivers in some leagues. So if you have him on waivers, go pick him up because even if he's a stash play or a handcuff, when you get in a pinch, and I have a league where I'm going to get in a pinch, he's going to be a starter for me. He's almost a starter this week over guys like Gibson, over guys like Chase Edmonds. I think Pollard's someone you want on your roster.
What about Amari Cooper going forward next week?
Well, we knew he wasn't going to repeat the 13-catch, 130 yards, and 2 touchdown game from week 1 against the Bucs. CeeDee Lamb, 8 for 81, not too bad. Also had a 13-yard carry, so almost a 10-point game from CeeDee Lamb in a standard scoring. PPR, that's 17.4. It's not too bad at all. Other than that, there wasn't a whole lot of good from that Dallas offense. It was Pollard, Zeke, and CeeDee Lamb. For the Chargers, it was really Eckler, Williams, and Allen.
It's kind of interesting. Somebody ended up tweeting out that through 2 weeks, Tony Pollard, RB9, Ezekiel Elliott, RB25.
Yes. Do not give up on Zeke. Do not sell low on Zeke. Tony Pollard is going to be a part of this offense. But you remember back a few years where Gordon and Eckler were in the same backfield, both were viable. It will happen once again. Do not panic. If you can pick up Pollard and put him in your flex, do it. If you have Zeke, don't panic and try and trade him away. He will be just fine. Mentioned Chiefs losing 36-35 as we jump to that one first. So we'll jump ahead now to Monday night. Aaron Jones, 3 receiving touchdowns and a rushing touchdown. Had his dad's ashes lost and recovered in the end zone. At 2 a.m, they found his father's ashes in the charm on his necklace. His father had passed away of COVID. 35-17 winners over the Lions. The Lions actually led at halftime 17-14. So clearly the second half was all Packers. Everybody really had a good game. Tanyan with a touchdown. Devontae Adams over 100 yards receiving. Jared Goff looked pretty good, I thought. 26-36, 246, 2 touchdowns and an interception. And that was about it. Hawkinson, 8 catches, 66 yards and a touchdown. Quintez Cephas, 4 for 63 and a touchdown. But that man, Aaron Rodgers, had a day. All the panic after week 1. He cost me a win week 1, definitely. But he definitely got me the win in week 2. 22 of 27, 255 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 4 of the 5 incompletions went to catchless Marquez Valdez-Scantling. The other one was a badly thrown ball to Devontae Adams in the end zone. It was behind him, and they got, I believe, a penalty that should have been called on that play. Aaron Jones, though, 17 carries for 67 yards and a touchdown. A.J. Dillon, only 5 carries. So the share for Jones is massive. He also had 6 catches, 3 of which for a touchdown and 48 yards. Devontae Adams, 8 for 121. Robert Tonyan, 3 for 52 and a touchdown. I got him off of waivers because Joel didn't bet enough, and he got me a nice win in the 16-teamer. It put me to 2-0, even though I maybe didn't deserve it after how bad this week was.
Yeah, as far as this game goes, the 2 things that I'm taking away from it are, number 1, don't give up on DeAndre Swift just yet, as he's RB2 status. Jamal Williams, maybe you might want to give up. And you know who's surfaced as one of the most valuable tight ends in I don't know if you could say potential league winner right now, but I think he's knocking on the door. Hawkinson, sort of one of those names that really has come out of nowhere.
He was the tight end that was highest on, not named Darren Waller, who is still getting every target from the Raiders, it looks like. Hawkinson was good. I have him in a good number of places. He was part of my comeback against my wife to win by 0.14. So I'm definitely high on him. It's someone that if you can trade, you could probably trade a Mark Andrews and still get Hawkinson, because the perceived value for Hawkinson is still lower, but I think the actual value is higher. Might be something to do. Even someone like George Kittle, who was absolutely terrible this week, could be a trade bait to get TJ Hawkinson in return. All right, so that is week number 2 in review. We go to week number 3. And Thursday night football this week, we got a game that is on the schedule. They will play it, but it's not going to be a good one, I don't think. I'm pretty sure I know the answer to this question as Carolina faces Houston when I asked Joel. Carolina goes to Houston. Houston without Tyrod Taylor, with Davis Mills getting his first career start. Deshaun Watson deactivated.
I have no idea who that is.
Yeah. Sam Darnold, Christian McCaffrey, and a defense that looks legit goes to Houston to play a team that I don't think any of us expected to get a win in week 1 or 2 and already has
Would
one.
Bishop Sycamore be a better start than Houston?
No, let's not go crazy. One of my teams that is 2-0, the auction one right over this shoulder, that is the Bishop Sycamore Sentinels, and they have 2 more wins than Bishop Sycamore ever had. Anyways, Carolina at Houston. Joel, who you got?
Gee, hang on. Let me think long and hard, and let me consult the quantum physics equations to try to figure this out. There's no way in sheer hell that I'm ever picking Houston in this game. No, we got to go with Carolina and the Panther.
Houston's been better this year against the run than they were last year, but not by much. Christian McCaffrey is a very good football player, Joel. I don't know if you knew this. Very good at running the ball.
I've heard rumblings and rumors of such.
Very good at running the ball. He's a top 10 running back in fantasy 27 of the last 31 games he's played in. That does not include the games he missed last season.
Good at the pigskin.
He is very good at running the football. He's very good at catching the football. And Houston does a very poor job of stopping both of those things. Sam Darnold looks to me like someone who has a lot to prove. Sam Darnold looks like he's trying to come out and prove that I'm good. The Jets suck. Adam Gase is the second worst coach in football behind only Matt Nagy. And I'm going to be great on a team that is very good. Carolina can go to 3-0 and they'd actually be leading the division after this game because Tampa doesn't play till Sunday. I don't know how long they're going to keep this up, but Carolina at Houston just screams road win for Carolina. I know Thursday night, the home team has a huge advantage in most cases, but Davis Mills does not instill the fear in the hearts of men. He does not instill fear in the hearts of children. He does not instill. I was going for something and I just failed. So he does not scare anybody.
Instill a vocabulary into Flying Ryan, maybe.
Yeah, he is not great, and there's really no redeeming quality for Houston to even try and hang my hat on to pick Houston. So I'm going with Carolina as well, and we will be back on Friday night to see how those went and pick the rest of the slate. Joel, who were you most impressed with in week number 2, though? Player or team?
Player or team? Oh, I know the easy answer would be Aaron Jones, but I don't know.
You can go with the easy answer. I mean, there's no wrong answer here.
I'm going to go with Lamar Jackson just because when you can beat a team like the Chiefs in prime time on national TV like that with the do you want to go for it? Heck, yes. I mean, that goes way beyond moxie. And if you want to talk about a team that I don't know if you can talk about the Bowl and the Ravens, but when you have a moment like that, that's a team that I definitely have to go. That was a hell of a performance.
Yeah, that was them at their best, and that was a team I had picked for the Super Bowl, and then everybody broke the first time, so I was like, oh, maybe.
Unlike a team that plays at the Hard Rock Stadium that wasn't that term.
Yeah, they weren't great. They were not great this week. But for me, the one I was most impressed with, I can go with my easy answer would actually have been Derrick Henry because Henry's a very good football player who
you just have you just have a virtual bromance with Henry.
You know what it is?
A bromance.
You know what it is? My brother-in-law, Chris, who was on with us a few weeks ago when we did our drafts, says Derrick Henry is one of the worst players in football. And at the beginning, he looked right when Derrick Henry couldn't get it going. He was in a timeshare. Now he's on his own. He is so clearly one of the best players. And he just talks so much garbage about him. I go, no, he's awesome. And every time he's like, no, he's terrible. I'm like, no, he's going to be in the Hall of Fame. No, he sucks. I'm like, he should have been the MVP the last 2 years. He's got 2,000 yards rushing. I mean, what do you not like? I have to hype myself up to argue with him. So now I'm like, no, I legitimately think he's probably the best running back in the league. It's great. I could go that route, but I am I think I'm going to go with Derek Carr. It was either him or Gronkowski. Derek Carr has been one of the best quarterbacks in football this year, which I don't think any of us saw coming. Most impressed with him and Vegas in general, doing great. I I don't like the
Coach
Dolphins odds of
Chucky.
I don't like the Dolphins odds of putting a loss on the Raiders, but we'll get to that pick on Friday. I'll go with Derek Carr, but I want to make the case for Gronkowski, at least on a fantasy side of things. He is right now tight end number 1 in certain formats. I'm going to make sure in the format I'm referring to, he's tight end number 1. But either way, if he's tight end 1, 2, or 3, he's not going to be below that. And for what it's worth, he is a tight end. Come on, give me the full season. These apps don't understand. It's like, do what I want you to do. He is in the Mega Bowl scoring, which is a half-point PPR. He is 2.1 points behind Travis Kelce on the fantasy points. Travis Kelce went pick number 11. I got Gronkowski in round 13. That's a huge value. Tight end 2, 12 rounds later, 2 points behind Travis Kelce. So that's the 2 I would say. Anybody who you were just not impressed with other than Miami, because that's a freebie. We both know that.
Anyone else that I wasn't? Oh, that would actually easily be the JETS mess because somebody actually put out a screenshot of 203 of Zach Wilson. Completion 2, attempts 5, yards 34, 3 picks. That has to be one of the biggest wins of the whole flipping day.
Yeah, that's not.
And there were some wins, let me tell you.
Yeah, I think mine, if I'm going with the team, has to be Jacksonville just because they don't look like they can compete. But I'm going to go with the kicker for the Vikings. You can't miss a 37-yard field goal.
I get that. The radio calls were gold, Jerry. Just gold.
That's gold, Jerry. Gold. Yeah, I'm a nerd too. I got references. Yeah, to make that worse, I actually had the Vikings kicker in our 16-team league. I did win because Robert Tonyan had a great game, but I went into Monday Night Football down by like 3.5 points. It wasn't crazy, but he make that kick. I literally need him to catch the ball.
I know
and not
about
lose
kickers and heartbreaks last year in the playoffs. I hate you, Justin Tucker.
Yes. Kickers aren't real people. They're not relevant in fantasy. If your league has them, you should be petitioning for them to not be in your league. I will also say when it comes to defenses, I'm getting real close to saying defenses need to go away too. I'm tired of having someone else's defense outscore mine by 16 points, Brittany. Week 1, she won by 10. Her defense outscored mine by 15. Last week, she lost by 0.14. Her defense outscored mine by 16, all because of fluky garbage deflected interceptions that went for touchdowns.
Even worse if you've ever done an IDP. Like, oh my good God.
I'm not saying you have full IDP where you get like a whole defensive roster. 1 lineman, 1 linebacker, 1 defensive back, and just go that way. Don't go crazy, but no defense, no kickers. That crap is just crap. All right, off the soapbox. On to final thoughts, Joel. What do you got?
Oh, it seems like almost every week, Flying, that we have the one bet away type
I know where
story.
you're going here. I know where you're going with this
and
one.
We had it yet again this week where you had a person who ended up having a bet with Bet MGM where they were 1 win away, just one, from turning $25 into $736,000. What could you do, Flying, with $736,000? That would be one heck of a computer setup. Plus, I'm sure a very nice vacay somewhere. But of course,
that's a very nice computer setup and a matching house to go with it.
1 win away. What was the last leg? There was one last leg. That last leg.
The last leg was Green Bay, Detroit. You know he's got it because he had to take Green Bay.
No,
Oh no.
That last leg was
Oh
the
no.
Lions money line.
Oh no.
And at least for maybe, I think, 1/2 hour of that game, when it was somewhat
They were ahead at
competitive.
halftime.
I heard a blurb that I think that the bettor may or may not have been offered a chance at some point to hedge the bet and somehow come away with 200,000. But I hope they legit got that opportunity. So it wasn't one of these. You get nothing.
No.
You lose. Good
He
day,
did
sir.
not get anything because he bet it with promotional credit, so he couldn't back out of the bet after 15. So he
So it
got
is.
nothing. He
You
won
lose. You
nothing.
get
You
nothing. You
lose,
lose.
good
Good day,
sir.
sir. Oh, that. Yeah. At least it was only barely. I would say maybe piece of money. So.
Yeah, $25
Oh,
of at least it was a promotional credit. He's not
that
actually out any money.
he he
But
he
that's
he was this close to singing that Calloway song "Cash." Oh, that's what it is. I want money, lots and lots of money. And now instead it was turn on those sad songs. But yeah, it was another bad beat for a missed incredible miracle parlay story
that's just
again.
brutal. I
Wah,
mean
wah.
that is just brutal. Oh, it's no good. You can't
that that
do that.
that this close that when you're that close to money and you get the Pac-Man sound. I tell you, it's
Oh,
just
yeah, you get the Price is Right fail
ah,
horn and the dead Pac-Man sound.
bum, 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 bum. Yeah.
And you get the music from Mario when you die. That dun, 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 dun. You dead. Dun,
we're,
dun,
we're,
dun,
we're,
dun,
we're,
dun,
we're all
dun,
with
dun, dun.
we're all with that person. We are all with you. Uh
In spirit, yes.
words can't express just how much disappointment somebody is feeling right now. And that's my final thought.
Yeah. Oh, well, we'll go back to Rob Gronkowski for a minute, who mentioned that he doesn't doesn't watch film on the Monday night broadcast on the Manning cast. He doesn't watch films during the Bucks practice. He said, "Hey, I know I don't have to watch it. Tom watches it, and he tells me what I have to look out for." Oh, it's yeah. Yeah, I know Tom watches 40 hours a week. Who's covering me this week? What kind of change are we playing?
Better believe he had a
He
text
does watch it.
immediately after he said that.
Yeah, it was a joke. He does watch it, and then he responded after all the hubbub, the kerfuffle that followed. He goes, "I watch so much film, my girlfriend
Kerfuffle is
throws
one of my
s at
favorite
me."
words.
Yeah. So yeah. So then after I guess his teammate's like, "Dude, do you actually watch teammate?" He's like, "Yeah, no, I do. Yeah." It's just whatever. But yeah,
It's
Gronk
it's
being Gronk, it seems to be working for him. So if he's not watching film, then more power to
hashtag it's
him.
Gronk.
Yeah. Well, that's week 2 in the books. We have 15 more of the regular season games for 15 more weeks. No, 16 because we have the extra week with the bye. So it's still very early. If your fantasy teams are 0-2, you have time, Joel. If your fantasy teams are 2-0, remember there's still work to be done. If you have a bunch of them like other people, just take your wins where you can.
Help me, Aaron Jones. You're my only hope.
Yeah. Unfortunately for everybody in my Michael group, expect to get dominated because I don't expect anybody of my team to really start busting anytime soon. Derrick Henry is very good. Over 50 points in that league. Pair him with Kupp and Stafford and Thielen and McLaurin and Montgomery and Gronk.
That's why he's flying Ryan and not humble Ryan.
Hey, somebody has to win that thing, and I see no reason why so far it couldn't be me. That's all I'm saying. And anyways, Rays in the playoffs. Baseball playoffs are about 2 weeks away. NHL regular season about 3 weeks away. And I guess that other sport where they throw balls and hoops is coming back soon as well, even though I don't really follow it or care about it. Yeah. So it's getting to that best time of the year in sports where you have playoff baseball, football, basketball, hockey, all starting anew. Everybody thinks they got a shot.
Time. It's the most wonderful time.
Yeah. And By the way, if you haven't seen the NBC ad that the Super Bowl and the Winter Olympics are going on at the same time, that is a really dumb hype piece because no one's watching the Olympics over the Super Bowl. So you don't want them to be at the same time. You want them to be the day after. You want the Super Bowl to be either the day after the Olympics ends or the day before it begins. You don't want it to compete with yourself. Anyways, with that, we gone.